Hi, my name is Venus O'Hara and welcome to another video from my seriously unmade bed. Well, I was just trying to test a toy earlier and I was just there enjoying it and then the battery ran out. So I charged it for a little while and then it ran out again. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to make some videos, and this is one for today. I'm going to make a video answering a question called I can only orgasm once a day. Interesting. So let me just become present. So I received this message the other day and it's a long message, so let me just... I'm writing to you because I have a sort of problem. I'm a sexually shy person and I have barely played with toys. I mean, I have a vibrator that I use occasionally, but that's about it. And penetration has never been on the table for me, but I'm willing to. My hands just aren't good for the task. I've never had a sexual partner because I want to experience a lot of things for myself before I experience them with someone else. Wow, that sounds so wise. I wish I'd thought like that when I was younger. Anyway, so that's really good. I'm aiming towards being more sexually open with myself and therefore others, but I find it hard when I hear from my friends that they typically orgasm 3 or more times having a personal session, when I've never pushed my body to go beyond once. I masturbate often, maybe once every 2 days, but I've never tried anything close to making myself have multiple orgasms. The closest I've ever been was when I overstimulated myself with my vibrator, but nothing came of it after a few minutes. Do you have any tips on orgasming multiple times? I often think that my body is just satisfied with one, so I don't need to go on, but I want to. Well, I just think from here, from what you're saying here, if you're satisfied with one, why do you want to carry on? It seems to me like you want to report something to your friends that you've had lots and lots of orgasms. But anyway, back to that in a minute. I've tried to talk to my friends how they do it, but it quickly becomes embarrassing. I just want to experience what they're experiencing. I remember a video you mentioned that you used to orgasm at least 4 times a day. How did you manage to do that? And what was your routine like in preparation at the time? I would love to try many things out and achieve more orgasms. La, 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 la. Okay, really good. Okay, lots of questions here. Well, when I had 4 orgasms, that was throughout the day. It wasn't in one session. I've had lots of orgasms in one session when I've been with a person, and that session has lasted several hours. But when I'm on my own enjoying solo sex, it's just 1 orgasm. And then if it's been a day with 4 orgasms, or even once it was 6, that was a bit extreme. There was 1 in the morning and 1 mid-morning, 1 after lunch, so it's all spread out throughout the day. So that's how I did it, but it's not something I would recommend now. I mean, what's the point if you're already satisfied? I don't see the point of doing it multiple times. It's not about quantity, it's about quality, you know what I mean? And also I think when people are starting to discover their sexuality, there are a lot of lies and egos involved, and sometimes people talk a lot and it's not always based on truth. I remember when I was at university, and I was someone who I could have lots of vaginal orgasms easily. I'm a bit different to most women, I think, but I was so crazy about sex, and I was dying to talk about sex with other friends, and they just didn't seem to be on the same wavelength as I was at all. And I remember I had a friend who did seem to be very sexual, and her mission was to have sex with lots of guys, whereas mine was to have sex with less guys but have lots of sex with, and find a boyfriend that I could have lots of regular sex with. And it's very funny because about 10 years later, after graduation, we met again, and she told me she had her first orgasm when she was 30. So all of that she was talking about earlier, it wasn't even about her own pleasure. I think it was about her ego and feeling validated by having lots of sex and lots of lovers. So I think there's a lot of lies and a lot of exaggerations at that age as well. And I know friends who, a friend of mine who we were talking about peer pressure and sex one day, and I asked him, he's actually gay now, and I said to him, did you actually have to pretend you were straight at any point? And he said, yeah, totally. All my friends were talking about these fit girls, and he was like, yeah, joining in. But it didn't feel until many years later that he could actually come out and be who he was. And something funny that he told me was that all his friends, they all had Britney Spears. He said they all had Britney Spears posters on their walls, but me, I had Shakira. And I thought that was so funny. But yeah, so I don't think there's any point in comparing yourself to other people. And you know, you don't really know if they're really having orgasms as well, because I think there are a lot of women who they're not having as many orgasms as they deserve, and that's why I'm an orgasm activist, because even though we have a more orgasmic potential, higher potential, many women are just not reaching it for many reasons. So I think that there might be a lot of exaggerating there, but I think it's if you're happy with one orgasm, why carry on? There's no point. And anyway, there are two issues here. We're talking about orgasms throughout a day, which is not multiple orgasms. For me, when I was talking about having 4 orgasms a day, there were 4 different sessions. But multiple orgasms is something very different. For example, a multiple orgasm is when you've had an orgasm, and before the refractory period, there's another orgasm builds up, and then maybe another one and another one. It's like a series of waves of orgasms that seems to go on, and sometimes that can be very spontaneous, and it's something that takes you by complete surprise, and it's something amazing because you just think, oh my god, you know, you thought you were having one orgasm, and then it turns out that there were several, you can't even count them. But I did learn how to provoke multiple orgasms. It's not 100%, 100%, what's the word? It doesn't work all the time, but what I found was when I was stimulating myself during the orgasm, it's still very important at that moment to maintain some type of stimulation on the clitoris, and then what would happen after when I was about to, let's say, switch the toy off, at that moment I would build up the friction again, move the toy around, and sometimes another orgasm would just take me over, and it was amazing, and sometimes a second or a third and a fourth. So that's something I learned, and I learned that with vibrators that are shaped like pebbles, these clitoral stimulators that look like a computer mouse that's kind of got this dip at the front, or a curve. So that's something maybe you could try sometimes, but there's no point in getting over-sensitized to the point where it's uncomfortable. That definitely should not be the objective. It should be just pleasure. One orgasm's fine, and if you want to have more than one a day, just have one in the morning, have one in the evening, and then you can prove to yourself that you can do it. But if you don't, then what's the point? I think it's fantastic that you can have orgasms on your own, and that you are willing to discover yourself before being with someone else. I think that's really cool. So carry on and enjoy, and it's great to try and speak to your friends about it. I understand how it can be embarrassing for people, but I think for me anyway, when I was sharing my sexploits when I was a lot younger, I felt like I was living them over again, and it was amazing. But if you can share it, great, but it's not the end of the world. So voila, that's my advice to you, and if any of you have any additional advice, then please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you have any questions about sex toys, sexuality, orgasms, orgasmic living, etc., then please don't hesitate to write to me at venus@venusohara.org, or you can add me on Instagram at venusohara. And I've been receiving loads of questions, so thank you so much. And I received many questions about vaginal orgasms, so that's going to be a video I'm going to make very soon. If you have any more, just please send them along to me, and I'll be more than happy to make a video for you. Okay, take care.